Alright, so I'm back, and where I left off on that last video, I was just stating, as I said, I'm just going to finish that up because that's off the subject, so I don't want to talk too much about that right now. But basically, Freddy Krueger, that would be a fictional character, but, APEP can create that for you, you know what I mean? As I stated, he preys on your biggest fears, whether they're fictional or non-fictional. So, Freddy Krueger is a fictional character. It's a movie, but he can create that for you. He created those things for me specifically, because those were my biggest fears. So that's just a little bit about how, other dimensions of hell work and whatnot, because, he just, like I said, whether it's fictional or not, he'll take that and say, yeah, let's create it. That's what you're most afraid of. Okay, it's not real, but let's create it for you, so it is real for you. You know what I mean? And you don't want you don't want those things to be real. It's just a lot, and I'll talk more about that as well. But those are some of my biggest fears. Sorry, I gotta get back on the page. Okay. So now I'm done with that. So I just feel like at this point I've pretty much I've addressed what I needed to address in regards to the most important misconceptions about me, the most important and primary things that were probably controversial. I'm sure there was a lot of other things that was probably said, but I think those were probably the primary things that were questionable, the primary things. So I've addressed that, and I don't want to keep repeating that because I know what the truth is. I just said it. I wrote it. I said it. So that's what happened. That's what happened. It's the truth, and that's what happened. So that I had to clear up. Okay, so moving on to the last point. I'm sorry, not the last point. The last topic on point 2. And then I am going to stop recording for today because after this last topic, which would be the rest of virginity, I will be starting a new point. So I don't want to start the new point right at this moment. So I'm just going to finish up point 2, and then I'll stop recording for today. So the last topic on point 2. Sorry. Wait. Hold on. Alright, the last topic on point 2 would be virginity. So I just want to finish up what I started on that. So I briefly started talking about virginity at some point previously. So I just want to finish what I had to say on that, because that too is very, well, all these topics and points are very important, but these are things that I have to state in regards to myself. So right now, like I said, I'm just going to tell more information about myself before I get into some more general topics. Okay, so virginity. Like I stated, actually, I should have watched the video where I was talking about virginity, because I really don't remember what I said about it. Like, I know what I just can't remember where I left off on virginity, because I don't want to repeat too much things. Like, I remember what I said, but I don't want to repeat something I already said or leave out something I may have not. So I really should have been prepared more by watching that specific video I was talking about virginity. But it's fine, because I just have to, I remember what I said, but sometimes I got to see where exactly I left off so I can pick up at that moment. So, alright, so basically, the virginity, basically, as I stated, when I talked about Virgo, the zodiac sign Virgo, I talked about virginity specifically, and that was more general and geared more towards the Virgo zodiac, in general, and how the virginities would work in ancient times and whatnot. But now I'm going to talk more about myself personally. So, in regards to that, so as I stated last year, I was instructed to do many things. At this moment, this was going to be the last. This was it. I was instructed, as I stated, to tell the truth about everything. I was instructed to change various behaviors, various thoughts. I was instructed to do a lot of things, and also I was instructed to not have sex to discontinue sexual activity and penetration at that moment. So that is what I did. I did all of these things. So like I stated, the last time I had consensual sex would have been September of last year, which would be September of 2016. And after that, I made the commitment to to virginicize myself, which would be to not have sex. After that consensual encounter, I made that decision, and as I stated, unfortunately, I was sexually assaulted 2 times after I chose to stop having sex, which would have been one sexual assault, one sexual assault in October, and the other one Thanksgiving Day. And both of those individuals were, people who I thought were friends of mine. So that's why I was even there with those people. So people I thought I could trust to a certain extent. So that's what happened with that. And so the last time I've had any kind of penetration has been since Thanksgiving Day of 2016. That's the last time any sexual penetration. I am not going to lie. When I was working, because I had started dancing again at a club I had danced at on and off over the years, and some of the things, I'm not going to lie, a couple times, some people started going down on me and like lap dances for a couple seconds, and I would stop it. But as far as sexual activity, that's what happened. Oh yeah, there is another sexual thing. I was at the home of a customer this past year, that someone I want to spend time with, one of my regulars, Philip, as I may have mentioned at some point. I did go to his house, and he was someone that I went to the symphony with. That's who I went to Hans Hall with. He took me to the symphony. He took me to a museum. We hung out. We had never had sex. He would come to the club and, do dances with me, one of my regular customers. And basically, I was at his house at some point this earlier in the year. And he was like, oh yeah, I'll give you a massage. So I was all about that. I love a massage. So he was giving me a massage, and somehow his fingers ended up in my rectum. So he was hey, we're telling the truth. We're telling the truth. I have done anal sex in my in my life. So that's something I actually enjoy. I talked about that previously when I was doing like Freaky Friday or something I used to do when I started. I start first writing about things, but I had engaged in anal sex in the past, and I did enjoy it. I've grown to enjoy it, but he was giving me a massage, and somehow he ended up in that area, and he started fingering my anus for a few minutes, and then I stopped it, and I was turned on. I'm not going to lie, I was turned on. He did not finger or my vaginal area. It was just my anal area, and that's what happened. So that's the only things I have done sexually this year, or that's what I've done sexually since the last consensual penetration, like I stated, which was in September of 2016. So no penetration since Thanksgiving Day, which was a sexual assault. So had I not been sexually assaulted those 2 times, my last sexual experience would have been September of 2016. Okay, so basically, okay, we got that out of the way. Now, we're talking about, in regards to virginity on myself, I was instructed to discontinue sexual behaviors for many reasons. And I stated a lot of those reasons in some of my writings. But I have to state some of those again. The primary reason I was instructed to do that, as I previously stated, was in protection of myself from various diseases, various, just any physical health issues that may occur from that. Not just, diseases, but just any type of physical harm, or just, because as I stated, I'm to conceive a child. So the primary thing was to protect my body and be ready to do that in a healthy way. Because like I stated, I have healing abilities, I do, but just because you have healing abilities and you have certain abilities doesn't mean that you should just disregard the risks and whatnot. You know what I mean? So it's like the same with coming back from the dead. That's an ability I have. So it's like, just because you have that ability doesn't mean you want to keep getting murdered or you want to keep getting killed. You know what I mean? Just because you can come back, because it's still negative to be murdered, So even though you can come back, you don't want to keep getting murdered. Same with healing. Just because you have a healing ability does not mean you want to keep getting sick in different ways. You don't want to keep getting injured, or you don't want to keep having these things happen to you, even if you have these abilities, because they're still traumatic experiences, whether you come back or heal or whatever. So, I was told to protect myself, because I healed myself. As I stated, I'm disease-free, I'm infection-free, just like when Coming to America, when Vanessa Bell Calloway's character is walking out, the queen, the presentation of the queen, and he was singing, and he said, free from infection. That's true. So it's like, I'm free from infection. So it's like, okay, protect yourself now. You're free from infection. Now, you'll heal again if you get fucked up again, but it's like, still, you don't want to do that. Like, you have to prevent this, even if you have the ability. You know what I mean? So, okay, so the primary reason, as I stated, was to protect myself, but there's other reasons. Like I stated, my first time having sex and losing my virginity was not a enjoyable experience. It was not something I look back on and say, oh, that was an enjoyable experience. I want you to have the chance to do that the way I want to do it, in a loving way, with someone I'm in love with, someone I care about. My virginity, it's not like my first virginity, but it's virginity to me. You have the power to do that. Women, they have the power to get back their virginity, if they choose to do that. The same with men, so it's all about it's a mindset. It's a mental thing, because like I said, I get aroused, I get sexually aroused, but it's a mental thing, so, but that's where I'm at right now. Like, I don't it's a lot to that. So basically, also, I did this because I want to have the chance to do it again in a loving way. I want to protect myself, as I stated. I know the expectations I have for myself. You know what I mean? So, and the expectation God has of me at this point, and also it's about being an example. It's about being an example of what young girls, I have my faults and I have things that I do wrong, but I also have things that I do right, you know what I mean? So I don't want, not just with me, with anyone, I don't want people to totally focus on what you've done wrong in your life, because everyone has done wrong things, like I said, myself included. So it's like, when you're looking at someone, you don't want to just focus on what they've done wrong, but also what they've done right. You know what I mean? You want to also focus on that. So, this is something I've done right, as far as the virginity goes. So, those are one of the expectations I have for myself right at this point, and Ra has of me. So I don't want to taint my body further or any more than it has been. Like, even like I said, even if you have the healing ability, you don't want to keep re-tainting yourself. Also, I just know my worth more now. It's not that you can't have sex or sex is a bad thing. It's all about balance when it comes to various things. So it's like, I know my worth is at this point, and now I didn't. And at times, in my life, know my worth, not in just this life cycle, but in other life cycles, so it's like I can't be out here just having careless, reckless sex, because I've dealt with unwanted pregnancies. I'm not on birth control at this moment. I am menstruating every month, so I can't be out here having careless sex, that's just something I can't do, and it's not just, it's more than just protecting myself from STDs and whatnot, because that's the truth. I'm not on any birth control. I am fertile. I do menstruate every month. I am fertile. I can't get pregnant at this time. So I won't be, my birth control at this moment is abstinence, so I don't want to re-taint myself. And I don't want young girls to also make the mistake of losing their virginities prematurely, or just regretting it, doing it too young, and now you're getting diseases. You don't have the knowledge on sex. You're getting pregnant at a young age, or you're contracting diseases, at a young age due to lack of knowledge on sex, things like that, being pressured to do things and whatnot. Not just girls, but boys as well. So, that's also one of the reasons. My daughter, Nefertiti, which is Destiny, her name in this life cycle. Earlier in this year, I had presented her with a ring, a purity ring, and I proposed to my daughter, and I told her, not in a romantic or sexual way, but I proposed virginity to her. I proposed purity to her, and I gave her that ring. And it's a purity ring, I gave her a purity ring, and I told her to wear that ring, and anytime you get into a situation with a boy, probably, or if you're getting pressured, or you're not sure, you have to show that ring and explain what it means. And, I'm going to do it in a loving way. I don't want to, just continue to have care, because my daughter is not a virgin. I know this. It's heartbreaking, but it's the truth, and I want to give her the right information as well. So, I had presented her with a purity ring. So it's a symbol of purity, and just be it, doing that is protecting my purity. It's protecting my purity, my physical purity and my spiritual purity, as well as my purity in a lot of other aspects, because, sexual things, it really can mess with your emotions. It can alter your emotions. It can alter your mentality. It can alter your physical, physicality. It can also alter your spirit, because a lot happens when you engage in sexual behaviors with different people. A lot happens spiritually as well, and I'll talk more about that, because again, I'll talk more on the general things of these things, but right now I'm just focusing on myself, so just so I can get the right information about myself out here for now, because you have to have the right information and trust the person giving general information. You know what I mean? You can't just be taking general advice and general information from someone that you can't trust and someone you don't know much about. So that's why I'm talking about myself first before I get on general topics. Okay, so also, this is a very important thing I left out in regards to the virginity. Just the way it has to be done, because at some point I'm gonna have to, give up that virginity. Okay, so this is what so the intentions of that is to give up the virginity to Ptah. That's Ra's intentions. Okay, and after that, it's a little more. It changes. Once I actually give up the virginity, things will change. Okay, so basically at this moment, I had mentioned, I'm sorry, I have to talk about this because this has to do with me. Now, I had put out posts a while ago in regards to Walter Disney and a lot of his movies. So Walter Disney, as I stated in some of my writings, he had information on things that happen in the life cycle. So he has knowledge, and I have to investigate Walter Disney spiritually, because I have to find out who exactly he was. He was someone of great importance in ancient times. I can already tell. Someone positive, someone of great importance, but I can't say right now what exactly his position was previously. But I do know he was a positive person, godly, and he was someone of great importance for him to have such knowledge. So Sleeping Beauty, the story of Sleeping Beauty, Disney's Sleeping Beauty, as I stated, would be Paris Hilton. That it would be Sleeping Beauty's physical descendant, Paris Hilton. Aurora was her name, Princess Aurora. And I also have to talk about individual people and whatnot. When I talk more about the movies and the music, I'll get more into that. But just briefly, that actually occurred. That actually occurred at some point in ancient times. Paris Hilton, there was a spell put on Paris Hilton, and she was a spell was put on her by a witch, a witch that was a queen, an evil queen. These actually existed. I'm not making this up. So, a spell was put on her, and she was put into a deep sleep. Okay, now just in the movie, it's very similar, but not exactly the same. But there was a spell put on her through black magic, and basically, Aurora, Paris Hilton, she was in a glass coffin inside the woods, deep in the woods. This would have occurred in ancient France. Because she is the true French princess from ancient times. So this would have occurred in ancient France. And a spell was put on her. She was cast into a deep sleep. But she was not dead. She was just a coma, whatever you want to call it, a deep sleep. And basically, they had her parents were instructed from this evil queen that if her true prince, her true mate did not come in a certain time, he had a certain amount of time to kiss her, come near, kiss her, the correct prince, and she would wake up. If he came in the time limit, and if he failed to do that within a certain time, she would begin to decay and die. So basically, she remained in this deep sleep under this spell for years. It was not like a short thing. She remained in this coffin sleep for years, but she did not decay. She remained beautiful. She remained the way she appeared, alive for years. But again, as I stated, she would start to decompose and she would die if her true mate did not come in a certain time and kiss her to wake her up. So basically, it was just a lot of trickery when it came to that, because from the beginning, okay, once this spell was cast on her, from the beginning, the queen knew, the evil queen, the evil witch or whatever, they knew from the beginning that there was only one person that could break this spell. They knew this, okay? Only her true mate, her true prince. She knew this from the beginning, that only one person could break the spell. So basically, they put out wrong information. They kind of made an announcement like, a prince could come and wake her up and they would be the king, because that was a false thing she put out there. She made men and all kind of men and princes think that they had a chance of waking her up, and they did not. So the spell is that you had to be, she put out the instructions on waking her up and becoming the prince and the king and whatnot. Because she was beautiful. She was the princess of France, so she was very sought out and desired by many men. So she put out this wrong information and made people think that they had a chance to do this, and it was wrong, because people lost their lives, as a result of that wrong information being put out there. Because basically the spell is that you were required to be a true prince to even be able to wake her up, okay? So that was the information that was put out, that was stated, okay? Now, if you want to try to wake her up, you had to be a true prince, and if you were not a true prince, you would die after kissing her. If you tried to wake her, if you went for it and tried, you would die if you were not in fact a true prince. Okay, so people lie. They say, oh well, I'm a prince, or whatever. Or some people may have tried and just didn't realize what was going on. So there were many people that were true princes that tried to wake her up, and they just nothing happened if you were a true prince. But if you were not a true prince and you tried for this, you would die. You would die. So at first, when this spell first started, there were many men and princes that tried for this to wake her up, because again, whoever woke her up, they would marry her. They would be credited with breaking the spell. They would marry her. They would become the king, the prince of, and she was very beautiful and very sought after, and she's still very beautiful. So Paris Hilton's beautiful. So men, they desired this position because, we get the beautiful princess. We get to be a king, a prince, So it's like, that was the prizes. So people tried for this, men tried, princes tried. So she failed to say, though, if you weren't a true prince and you tried for it, you would die. She didn't say that. Okay, she did say you had to be a true prince, but she did not say if you're not and you try, you are gonna die. She left that out. So many people that were not true princes tried for this, and they died. Because she failed to disclose that important detail. So after a while, they started to figure it out, just from trial and error, because at first, when this spell first began, it was lines. There were literally lines of men from far and near. People would travel far distances to be able to attempt to break the spell at first. It was there would literally be lines of people to try to do this. So that's what happened. And then once people started dying that were trying, because it became such a popular thing, and it was a lot of people were trying. So it was like many people, it just became a popular thing to go try for it. But it was like they didn't know the correct information. So a lot of people lost their lives that were not true princes who attempted this. So after a while, the less and less people began trying for it, because they seen people were dying as a result. Many people were dying as a result. So it got to the point where it was just less and less people trying to do this. The hope began to diminish, because people thought no one would ever break the spell, because so many people had tried and no one succeeded. So it became like the hope began to diminish, and her parents began to get very worried, because like I said, they were told they only had a certain time period for someone to wake her up. So they were very very distraught at some point, and it literally came down to like the last minute, really. It was a very big thing. Basically, it became less and less people trying once they seen what was happening to people. And, after a while, it became so rare to even try for this type of thing anymore, that it became a dare after a while. It became a dare. It was so rare and so unbelievable that someone would break the spell that it became a dare at some point. Like, men would be like, I dare you to try for it. You know what I mean? Like, I dare you. It became something like that after a while, because nobody wanted to try it anymore, and everyone was scared, and it was a big thing. It really would be big news if someone was trying for it after a while, because it would be like, oh my gosh, he's trying, he's gonna go try for it on this day. So it would be like big news after a while. And but basically in the end, like I stated from the beginning, she knew only one person could break this spell, but she didn't disclose that. So a lot of people lost their lives as a result of trying to do this. So eventually the right person, the right prince, her right mate, eventually went and did break the spell, and it was really down to the last moments of being able to save her. So it was a great ending, this story, but it was really horrible and scary for a lot of people who loved her and her loved ones, and because it really came down to the last moment. So I started to talk about Sleeping Beauty because this is sort of a similar thing, not exactly the same when it comes to me. Because the issue with me is that I have a spell. I have a spell on me, okay, and it's not an evil spell. It's a spell done by Ra. Ra put a godly spell on me. It's like the spell I have on me is in protection of myself, because he knows, like I said, all the things I've done sexually and all the life cycles. He knows what I've done for money. He knows everything I've done sexually, for money and not for money. He knows everything, the occupations I've had. He sees and knows and sees everything I've done sexually, and it broke his heart. So basically, he put this godly spell on me for me to not continue to make the wrong sexual choices when it comes to this point in the process. So basically, when it comes to my virginity, it's intended to be with Ra. I mean, I'm sorry, that's not true. It's intended to be with Ptah. I'm sorry, speaking typo there. It's intended to be lost with Ptah due to the fact that is my true mate. Okay, so you see there's similarities with the spell on Sleeping Beauty, okay? But that is my true mate, as I stated. So he is meant to take my virginity. He is meant to be the father of the unborn son. The son does not have to be born right away, as I stated. I want to get to know who I'm going to be having a baby with, too, because like I stated, I've known him for 6 years, and I know he's a good man and everything, but to be quite honest, there's just a lot I don't even know about him. Like, I want to get to know him more as well before I have a child, so it's like, that is who is intended to be the first person I have sex with again, okay? And that's meant for a different reason, not because he's my true mate, okay? He is meant because that we're supposed to reconnect. We have to touch base and reconnect before anything else happens, sexually with me or anything. Not just sexually, but it's intended for people that are together and are true mates to be on the same page, to touch base, be on the same base. Because like I stated, I have not seen Ptah in quite some time, or talked to him, had sex with him in quite some time. So this spell was put on me also to make us gravitate towards each other again. Not just sexually, but just to reconnect and touch base, because that is what is supposed to have been happening this whole year, so we have a lot of time to make up a lot of information that has to be said, you know what I mean? So it's like we were supposed to be doing all this year, you know what I mean? Like, we have not had any contact, so it's like a lot of time has been like lost with this, but it can be salvaged, I guess, because he's still eligible. But it's like hard, so basically he's intended to do this first, okay? Now, if he fails to do this, okay, if you're not a true prince, okay, you're not eligible to take my virginity, Only people that are a true prince are eligible to do this, so it's like, I don't know who everyone is a true prince at this moment. I know who some of the men that are true princes. I do know some, but I don't know every one of them. So it's not like I can just go out having careless sex with people, because that's what's going to happen if you're not a true prince and I have sex with you for the first time again. You're not going to be alive anymore, you know what I mean? So that's also why I'm not having sex with anyone, because it's like it's a safety issue for them. Not because I have any STDs, but because of the spell Ra has on me, because it's geared for me to gravitate towards Ptah again, for me to reconnect with him. This is a way to kind of trap me into reconnecting with him and, doing that, you know what I mean? So that is why he is intended to do it the first time, okay? Now, as I stated, if you're not a true prince, I don't have to do it with him the first time, but the truth of the matter is I want to, too. It's not just that I'm supposed to and I'm intended to and I'm supposed to. I'm going to be honest here. I want to, because that is someone I'm familiar with. That is someone I love. So I want it to be my virginity to be given up in a loving way with someone I love, someone I feel comfortable with, someone I know, you know what I mean? Because the lace front, no, really, because it's like I'm trying to do it in a loving way this time. But I really don't desire to get pregnant immediately. Okay, that is one of the tasks, as I stated, but I don't feel comfortable getting pregnant immediately, because I really just know that's who I'm supposed to have the child with, but I still want to get to know who I'm having the child with, you know what I mean, just from past experiences. But so basically, if you're not a true prince, and I have sex with you for the first time, you will die, and that's the truth, Now, I did state some of the people my other husbands that I married throughout the 9 life cycles, each and every one of those individuals would also be safe for me to lose the virginity to. You know what I mean? But the issue is that I don't want to either, because those are people I'm not physically comfortable with right at this moment, because a lot of those people I married in past life cycles, and I'm familiar, if they're celebrities, I'm familiar with their music, but I don't know them as like who they are as a person. You know what I mean? I know the music, I know I've married them in the past life cycles, I have connected with these men in this life cycle through their music, or their career things and things they've done. But it's like, all of these people I've married, I don't know them either in this life cycle, so it's like I don't know if I would feel comfortable. I don't know. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing it the first time with them, just because I don't know them physically in this life cycle. I don't know Future physically in this life cycle. I know him through his music, and but I don't know him physically in this life cycle. I don't know who he is as a person. Same with everyone else. Nasir, Bon Jovi, John Bon Jovi, Raw. That's Barack Obama, as I stated. That is Raw's physical descendant, Barack Obama. That is my father genetically. I've stated that, and it's the truth. And I don't know him. Like, I know him through public things, physically, in this life cycle. I know him spiritually, but I don't know who he is and his whole life. I can't tell you what has happened to everything that's happened to Barack Obama in this life cycle. I don't know what he's done in his life in this life cycle. I can't tell you everything physically that he's done in this life cycle, or everything spiritually, because that's somebody I didn't talk to. You have to get to know these people. But all of those people are ineligible, for the child, for the conception of the child. But still, I don't know them. The same with all of those husbands I listed that I married within the life cycle. I don't know them physically in this life cycle. So that's an issue, because I want to feel comfortable with who I'm giving up the virginity to. And it's, like I stated, Ptah is the intended person for that. So it would be hard for me doing that, knowing that this is not the intended person. I really take my instructions Bra has given me very seriously. So even though they wouldn't die, or nothing would happen to them, I just don't know how comfortable I would be doing that the first time with someone like that. And plus, I am in love with Ptah still. I'm physically in love with Ptah, and I'm also in love with my other husbands. I admit that. I am in love with them, in other ways, but I just don't know them physically. Nasir, Michael Jackson, Prince, Quincy McConnell. I've had sex with Quincy McConnell one time. I stated that, but I don't know him. I'm familiar with him through one sexual encounter physically, but I don't know him, and that's a moral issue anyway. But everyone except Ptah, I just don't know them physically. Everyone else that I've married, so it's just an issue, because I take the instructions just very seriously, because everything really has to be done strategically. Everything is so strategic. It's like a chess game. It's like a poker game. It's not a game, but you know what I mean. You have to really be strategic with your decision making, because it really can alter things negatively if you make the wrong decisions doing this. And again, this is why I'm doing this, because I'm the only one worthy of this position at this moment, due to the fact of my knowledge in these areas. So it's like a lot of people wouldn't know these things, and they would do that, and people are dying or whatever, the wrong ways and whatnot. So it's like, as I stated, everything has to be done so strategic. So that's what I'm stating. Now, that, as I stated, the child does not have to be born immediately, okay? But, you know, I'm able to have sex with Patab, you know, whenever I want, basically, even prior to a marriage, because as I stated, we're already married. You know, spiritually, the marriage is, once you take vows in any life cycle, those vows, you're spiritually becoming connected. So those vows withstand death and they withstand the life cycle. So due to the fact we're already married, that's why it can be done prior to a legal marriage. Like I stated, when you get married or divorced, you're just becoming legally, well, once you take vows, you're becoming spiritually bonded as well as legally. Now, when you just get a legal divorce, traditional divorce, you're just becoming separated legally. So not a spiritual separation. So being that's the case, we're technically still married. And that's why, and as well as those other people, I'm technically still married to them as well. So once, I just want to state that. So once that happens, once I do lose the virginity, it opens up just more opportunities that way, sexually, okay? Now, see, I don't know if I should start talking about this now, or I should save it to when I was going to actually talk about it, which is the last point I have here. Well, I don't know if you can see it. The last point I have here is allowed sources of income. Okay, so because the fact of the matter is I have to make a living as well. So there are things I'm allowed to do as income, and there are a lot, or for money, and then there's the things I'm not allowed to do for money. So I'll talk briefly about that because I think that's the hot topic. You know, everyone, it's the hot topic. Okay, so basically, as I stated, once the virginity is lost in the right way, keyword, the right way, it opens up more opportunity for employment. So, you know, there are things that I can do for money that is not going to be like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not going to be a detriment. You know, it's not going to be something totally something I can't totally do. Because like I stated, there are things I can, and when we're talking about sources of income now, that's the last topic I put down, the last topic. So it's like, as I stated, there are things I cannot do and make money off of, and I'll explain some of those. One of the things I'm not allowed to make money from is raising the dead, okay? So that is something I'm not allowed to generate income from, you know what I mean? And, you know, so I'm just, when I get to allowed sources of income, I'm going to really just go down the line and state things I can do for money and things I cannot do for money, okay? And I will wholeheartedly abide by those rules because they're really important, and it has to be, like I stated, everything has to be done strategic and correct in the right way. So, you know, that would be one thing that I cannot generate income from, raising the dead. So once I talk about raising the dead and more information on that, that is not something I can make money from. So once I start taking names for that, and actually that becomes something that's happening on impulse, you know, I cannot make money from that. So I cannot say, okay, I'll raise your grandmother from the dead if you give me $200. You know, that is something I cannot do. You know, that is, it's no charge for that type of thing. You can't do this. You know what I mean? So people would do that in the wrong way. See, that's why I'm doing this, because there are people that would do it the wrong way, and they would charge for something like that. They would say, well, you got to pay me for me to raise your family member. And that's wrong. It's not something that has to be, that is not something you generate income on. That is something that is done because it's something you're supposed to be doing. That is part of the position. That is not something you generate income from. Raising the dead, as well as healing the sick, which I'll also talk more about. I'm just not going to start those things yet, because they're very complex things, okay? So I just need to be able to speak on those and give out the correct information on those subjects first before I begin to do those things, because, I'm at 50 minutes, so it's like I have to have everyone understand exactly the process of raising the dead, the process of healing the sick, because that's going to be sooner than later, really, because I can do that right now. But it has to be done strategic. You see what I mean? So that's the issue with that. So that would be one example of something I cannot generate income from. Or two things: raising the dead and healing the sick. That is something that is free, based on certain things, like I stated, based on just certain things. I'll talk more about that because I don't want to get off the subject. So basically, once I do lose the virginity, there are going to be things that I can make money from, okay? Because the fact of the matter is, even though I have done these things in my past, certain occupations and sexual things, they're frowned upon, okay? Like I stated, certain things are frowned upon, certain things are out of the question. So, me charging to raise the dead, out of the question. You know what I mean? Not frowned upon, but out of the question. Now, I'm just going to get to the point, because I just think this is like a hot topic. I am to be used, also in the song was, in Coming to America, Vanessa Bell Calloway's walking out, the presentation of her as a queen. Basically, he also stated in the song, which he sings as she's walking out. You have to pay attention to that song as well. And he also says she's to be used at your discretion. Okay, so that also means that I can do many positions and generate income in many positions where I can't get any income from it. So dancing, exotic dancing, it's an art form. If you do it in a tasteful way, if you do it in a tasteful way, it's art. The nude body is art. Dancing is art. The female body is art. So if it's done in a tasteful way, that is a way I can generate income, as well as sexual things. That is why I mentioned to watch the movie The Mac, starring Max Julien, a.k.a. Goldie. I stated that a while ago to watch that movie. I also appointed him to a throne for many reasons. So that is something I can do once it's done in the right way, okay? I am required to...
You know what I do to be watching the cars with?
No. I'm sorry. I'm in the middle of something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Excuse that. But basically, it has to be done strategically, okay? It cannot just be done any way. That is why I'm intended to gravitate and reconnect with Ptah, because he is supposed to be part of my guidance in certain areas, support, guidance, and things like that. So I'm not supposed to be out here by myself, no protection, no nothing, just doing those things, prematurely, and just like, the wrong way. That's the wrong way, okay? I'm supposed to be reconnecting with Ptah, okay? So we can come up with different things as to what I'm going to be doing for income, what I'm going to be, doing, and it can't be done that way the first time, okay? The first time is sacred, it's special, okay? I cannot just start doing that right now. Okay, it has to be done strategically, and it's not like I'm just going to be standing on a corner or something. You really have to meet certain qualifications to be able to do sexual things with me, if that is something that's agreed upon, because that is not something I have to do. That's something I can do if I want, if I desire, you see. So it's not like Patah would be forcing me to do that. Like, if that is something I wanted to do, it would have to be done a certain way, and it would have to be done the right way and strategically. So I'm on 55 minutes. It's going to cut off at 1 hour, so it's like it has to be done strategically. Everything, every little detail, okay? So I don't want people to get the wrong idea on things and the incorrect information. And I'm specifically talking about this because I just know it's a hot button issue from some of the things I previously posted. So this is not like I'm going to be, if I choose to do this, okay? Because the fact of the matter is, me being available in certain ways to people other than Patah would prevent a lot of things. It prevents rapes, and it prevents jealousy. It decreases rapes, it decreases jealousy, it decreases a lot of things if you're also available in those areas, okay? But it's not like I'm just going to be out here doing it with any and everyone if that becomes a thing. That has to be discussed and talked about between me and Patah, and it has to be agreed upon or not agreed upon, because it's not something I have to do. It's something I can do if I choose to, okay? So that's the fact of the matter. And it's not just that. Like, I have a lot of things a lot of positions I can do. I can write raps, I can write songs. I want to be a songwriter for hip-hop artists and singers. I can do that and generate income. See, those are things I can do for income. So it's like, it's not just limited to dancing or stripping and sexual things. You know what I mean? I can be on a hospital administration. I can be on a presidential administration. I would work. Hey, they lead to help in Washington. I think I wouldn't mind working on the Trump administration. He can retain his position as president, but I wouldn't mind working on his administration due to the fact that he needs the help. I see. You know what I mean? Hey, Trump, if he wants to hire me and I'm allowed to be creative and he's not going to ignore my ideas, I'm willing to work on his administration under him through, he can retain his position as president. I'm willing to do that due to the fact of the help is needed. It's needed. I see it. Everyone sees it. He can kind of be like just the person that takes the credit for all my ideas or whatever. I'll put the ideas out there and put the changes that need to be made, and then he can do those changes. I'll kind of be his marionette puppet, to a certain extent, if he'll allow me, because I see the help that's needed. So those are things I can do, you know what I mean, for income, okay? Now, in regards to any sexual favors or anything like that, that would have to be done a certain way. There would be criteria to meet for anyone that's interested in doing that. And it's not just sexual favors. We're talking about time spent, you know what I mean? We're talking about taking me for the day type of things. I'll spend the day with different men, gentlemen, who have met the criteria in the screening, because it's like, I can't just be doing that with any and everyone, you know what I mean? So it's like, I had stated that, I'll talk more about this when I get to allowed sources of income, but, I can take me for the day, you know what I mean? Spend time, we can, do whatever activities, travel, spend time with people, but it's like, it prevents sexual assaults, I have to be desired to do it. I have to desire to do it. I'm sorry. So, it's going to cut off in 30 seconds. So, I'm going to continue recording more this week. But yeah, it's like, take me for the day, spend time with me, go to dinner, hang out, do what you want to do, and then sexual things can be done if that's part of what you have arranged, but it has to be done strategically, really.